everyone, it's Anna and I'm back with another vintage cookbook. This time I'm reviewing Miss Fluffy's rice cookbook. I was unable to find an exact publication date for this book. According to some eBay listings I found, it looks like it was published sometime in the 1960s. No author on this book. It looks like it was released by Rice Council for Market Development. As for Miss Fluffy herself, I am so excited to learn more about her, to watch her grow, and just follow her journey. Just kidding, she doesn't appear in the cookbook anywhere else but the cover. I flipped through, no more Miss Fluffy, no idea what happened to her. Also notice Miss Fluffy's apron, Miss Fluffy Rice. I kind of want this apron. So right when we open this book, it reassures you that rice is your most versatile food. I'm not gonna argue with that. You can use rice in all kinds of things, and they certainly do in this book. Love that it's in all caps as well. Extra emphasis, extra reassurance. Rice is your most versatile food. You may be surprised to hear that there are no gelatin molds in this cookbook. This book is just all rice all the time. There are a lot of like rice plus spice, as I like to call them, recipes in here, which is pretty useful. It explains different kinds of liquids that you can cook your rice into, give it different flavors, make it into different side dishes. Overall, I would say that this is a pretty useful cookbook. Although I don't use the same method to cook rice that they recommend in this book. The method that I use, you rinse the rice a few times, bring it to a boil. I'll link it down below. I've used it for quite a while now, and it's been my most successful cooking method. Their method is called 1-2-1 fluff method. So it's basically 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, and 1 teaspoon of salt. They also do say, do not rinse your rice because you're rinsing away valuable vitamins and minerals. Yeah, right here, there's like an entire list of don'ts. Don't wash or rinse your rice. Don't peek at your rice when it's boiling. Don't stir the rice after it comes to a boil. Don't leave rice in pan in which it was cooked for more than 5 to 10 minutes, or cooked rice will pack. That's worded really weird. But yeah, whole list of don'ts. For the recipe that I'm cooking today, I did use their method with one slight change, which I'll get into in a little bit. Today I'm going to prepare Pink and Pretty Parfait, and we are lucky enough that there is an actual illustration of this. Hopefully what I am cooking will look like this at the end or something close. When I think of rice in desserts, the first thing that my mind goes to is rice pudding, and there are some rice pudding recipes in this book. This recipe seems sort of like a lighter, fluffier version of that. It's cooked rice that's sweetened. You add some flavoring to it and mix it with whipped cream and then layer it with fruit. Just digging into a few of the other recipes in this cookbook. We have honey rice. I considered making that dish. I just didn't have any sherry and I didn't want to have to buy any. But it has honey, corn syrup, cooked rice, raisins, lemon rind, butter, lemon juice, sherry, and then toasted nuts. So that sounds pretty interesting. You cook it all together, you put it in a buttered dish, and then you bake it. Okay, this is not exactly a gelatin mold, but it comes close. Shrimp and rice mousse. This is our shrimp and rice mousse, so a little bit gelatin mold-esque. Unluckily, or luckily for me, I guess, I cannot have shellfish, so I won't ever be making the shrimp and rice mousse. So sad. They have something called pheasant muscatel. I'm not sure if like rice really plays the main part here. I mean, to me, it seems like the pheasant would be the main event, and I'm not gonna get a pheasant anytime soon. Probably not gonna make that one either. Okay, so here's what the pheasant muscatel looks like. It does look like the rice plays more of a side dish part than the main event. Is that what a pheasant looks like when it's cooked? Another weird thing about this book is that like a lot of the illustrations are sideways. It's kind of like the food stylist. Did they have food stylists back in the 60s where they called something else? I don't know. Tell me. Some of them are like this, but the vast majority are like landscape. I don't know what happened there. These look kind of interesting, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. Callas? This is 1.5 cup cooked rice, very soft. Package of yeast, some warm water, eggs, flour, sugar, and salt. You mash up your rice and then you add the softened yeast. So when they say softened yeast, it looks like they would like you to use compressed yeast. So then you soften the rice, you add the yeast, you let it rise, you add the other ingredients, and then you fry them. So that sounds kind of good. Yeah, this book really does have me thinking about other ways that I can use rice. Often it's just kind of like I make something and you put it on top of rice, so it's just like plain old rice, or it's maybe just in soup or something like that. There's a page here of old-fashioned recipes. So we have rice pudding USA. I mean, there are a lot of other styles of rice puddings. Hopping John, and then shrimp Creole. So those were the only 3 old-fashioned recipes. I'm not sure what sets them apart from the other ones to make them old-fashioned. I think we're ready to go. Let's get started. I needed to prepare the rice in advance because it needed to be chilled. So I made this last night and put it in the fridge. Here's what I did. I started with a 3-quart saucepan and added 1 cup of long grain rice. I did not rinse the rice. And then next I added 2 cups of water to the pan. And then instead of salt, I replaced that with 2 tablespoons of sugar because I needed to make sweetened rice for this recipe. After that, I turned the heat on high, gave everything a really good stir, just tried to dissolve that sugar a little bit. And here you can see that it's just beginning to boil. Once I brought this to a full boil, I turned the heat all the way down to low. And then I covered this with a tight-fitting lid. I cooked this for 14 minutes without stirring. You'll see that I added a dish towel. The water was starting to boil out of the pan and onto my stovetop, and I did want to prevent that. So after 14 minutes, you take the lid off, and then you just kind of fluff up your rice a little bit. You can see that it did stick to the pan. This doesn't usually happen with my regular rice cooking method, but I wanted to follow the method outlined in the book as closely as possible. This recipe seems simple enough. I really hope I'm not going to regret saying that. The first thing that I have to do is make some whipped cream. Hand mixer is making an appearance today. I did throw a metal mixing bowl into the refrigerator. Usually when I make whipped cream, I make it with the stand mixer. I didn't want to drag that over here, but I always use a metal bowl, put it in the fridge, put your mixer attachment or your beaters in the fridge. Just keep everything nice and cold and you'll have fresh whipped cream in no time. Super easy to make. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm making half of a recipe today. So I have 4 ounces of heavy whipping cream to put in the bowl. And we're just gonna start mixing that and then magic should happen. Scrape that down. This goes a little bit faster when I do this in the stand mixer. This really only took me 4 minutes or so to get to this stage, so it's really not a long time, but the stand mixer is definitely a little bit quicker. 1 more mix. Okay. I think I'm there. I don't want to over mix it either. Got some nice unsweetened whipped cream at this point, which will soon become sweetened and flavored. You can kind of, in a normal recipe, sweeten this to your level of taste. If I'm having whipped cream with like waffles or something, very decadent, I tend to go a little less on the sweetness of the whipped cream because I'm having other things. That's just how I like them. Honestly, it still tastes pretty good even when you don't sweeten or flavor it, but we are gonna add some sugar and some almond flavoring to this whipped cream. I've never added almond flavoring to whipped cream. Usually I do vanilla, but I love almond extract. My grandma and my mom used it in cakes and cookies all the time. I think it smells like wedding cake. I just love it. So whip the cream, fold in the food coloring. Cannot forget, this recipe does require a couple of drops of red food coloring. Get those in there. Oh boy, I went a little more than I should have. We'll see what this looks like. It's 1/4 teaspoon of almond flavoring since we're going half a recipe. Oh, no, that's half. Oh, well, you know, I keep some of these mistakes in, so you know how it really is. So we've got our flavoring and our sugar. It has you using granulated sugar. I often use a little bit of powdered sugar in my whipped cream. It might be fine. I'm not sure if it's going to turn out grainy or not, so again, we'll see. It's a couple tablespoons of sugar. We're gonna fold this in. Honestly, I feel like that was a lot of sugar for this amount of whipped cream, but just following Miss Fluffy's rules. Okay, this looks like a pink nightmare. So right there. We got some fancy pink whipped cream. Moving on. Then fold in the rice. So that's going to be 2 cups of this sweetened rice that I made. I have never made sweetened rice. Usually if I'm making something like rice pudding, I just use leftover white rice and sweeten it later. Curious to see how this is going to taste. I'm always curious to see how things are going to taste. I need to think of a new way to say that. Oh my God, I'm making a mess. Oh well. When I was cooking this rice, as you could see a little bit in the footage from earlier, it sort of boiled over a little bit. I really didn't enjoy this method of cooking rice, but wanted to follow what was in the book. The water was boiling out of the pot and running onto the stovetop. I did add a little bit of just like a thin dish towel. I use a dish towel when I normally make my rice. So that was like the one change that I made. Well, this is like a nice Pepto-Bismol pink. This is like my bedroom when I was 6. Yeah, I think this is the exact color that I requested. Did I get everything in there? I hope so. Yeah, I did. Okay. In the right context, I think this color would be pleasant. If you look at it closely and you see the little individual grains, it kind of looks like a weird fake brain. Maybe like a brain gelatin mold or something. This is what we have. What next? Fill serving dishes with alternate layers of rice and strawberries. I bought frozen strawberries for this. That's what it said to use. It just said a package of frozen strawberries. This recipe was pretty general in a lot of ways. It said one package. The package I bought was 24 ounces, so I think that was a little bit much. So I just kind of eyeballed it and took some out. I am gonna get a little parfait dish. I don't have parfait dishes. I'm gonna get a clear glass vessel. Okay, I have like a clear glass coffee tumbler. We're gonna try to use that. I think part of this recipe really is a visual thing. One thing I didn't notice when I was filming the earlier portion, when I showed the illustration, I'm gonna come a little closer. You can see where they started out with the layers and then like the food stylist got bored or tired or something and they just kind of like threw the rice in there. I didn't notice that before, but I kind of like it. So I'm gonna cut up some of these strawberries. I bet this would be really amazing with fresh strawberries too, but this is what they said to use. You know, I wonder why Miss Fluffy didn't make another appearance in this book. I don't understand that. I feel like you could like follow her through the recipes and maybe the art was too expensive. Maybe they could only afford that one image. How much of this do I need to do? Maybe one more. And then you're supposed to put one on top. This does seem very light and springy, especially because of this nice pink color. It's time to layer. So now we get to the pretty part. So I'm gonna try my best to make this nice and clean. Get that in the bottom. What does that look like? How much rice do they have on the bottom? It's probably a little bit more than that. Okay, so we're gonna go for some strawberries. Ooh, nice. This is like a little party dessert. All right, we're gonna do, oh, I was supposed to save some of that whipped cream. Okay, well, we're doing this without the little topping part. That's weird though, because it didn't make a ton of whipped cream to the amount of rice. So, whoops. Didn't realize that. I am so excellent at this. I think it would be cleaner, a little less messy to use fresh strawberries as well. This has got like a lot of juice and stickiness kind of going all over. That's looking nice. So we'll do one more layer of rice. And then after this was supposed to be whipped cream, but you know, I messed up. So we just keep going. Just keep going. Smooth that out a little bit. I'm gonna like clean up those edges too. So we're gonna top it with one more strawberry. Oop, there we go. Look at that. That's cute. That's adorable. I'm gonna grab a spoon and we'll give it the official taste. This is very pink. It reminds me of something that you would serve at like a 1950s teenager's birthday. Okay, I'm gonna give it a try. Get some strawberries and some rice. This is nice, actually. I feel like there's a lot of rice though. I would maybe cut back on the rice just a little bit to like allow more whipped cream to come through. This is vaguely familiar too. I think I have eaten something like this maybe at like an Amish buffet. It kind of reminds me of something that would maybe be in like the salad section of an Amish salad bar, if you've ever been to anything like that. I like this. This is very light. I think this would be a really good like hot summer dessert. It's a lot lighter than rice pudding. This is delicious. I'm a little bit surprised. It seemed like a simple recipe, but I wasn't sure if all of this was gonna go together, but it sure did. That was Miss Fluffy's rice cookbook, even though Miss Fluffy is not actually in this book. Do you have a copy of this? I'm so curious to hear who has copies of these books that I'm cooking recipes from. Please let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!